Hi guys, it's Elizabeth from Daisi Productions and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, I do want to mention that this video will be containing spoilers for the Scoob movie. So if you're planning on watching that movie without knowing any spoilers, please, stop watching this video and just go watch the movie. And if you are not planning on watching the movie, but you still want to watch this video, I will leave a link in the description to a Wikipedia summary of the plot so that you can understand what I'm talking about a little bit better. Alright, on with the video. What's the Scooby-Doo? We're coming after you. You're gonna solve that mystery. If you had asked me what my favorite cartoon was as a child, I probably would have answered Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo was one of my favorite Hanna-Barbera cartoons alongside The Perils of Penelope Pitstop, and one of my favorite cartoons, period. I grew up watching the original 1969 series, the 2002 series, and countless of their movies. I owned many Scooby-Doo t-shirts, action figures, games, and even a race car track that was Scooby-Doo themed. I know so much about Scooby-Doo that it's a little bit embarrassing. So when I heard that there was a new Scooby-Doo movie coming out in 2020, I knew I had to see it. I was so excited at the potential of a new movie, but then I saw the trailers and I was disappointed. The trailers established low expectations for me, and those low expectations were met by the movie. The movie Scoob was set to release into theaters May 15th, 2020. However, because of the pandemic, it is now available for rent or for purchase on both Amazon and YouTube. So on May 15th, my family and I bought the movie on Amazon for $26 and watched it that night. I give the movie a 2.5 out of 5 stars, which I understand is a pretty harsh review of the movie, but keep in mind the Rotten Tomatoes score is 50%. I see you, Scooby-Doo. The trail leads back to you. What's new, Scooby-Doo? There were a lot of problems that I had with the Scoob movie, but the one that was most apparent to me was the casting decisions. The cast seemed very bland, and the performances seemed to only scratch the surface of their characters. Take Fred, for example. Scoob was Zac Efron's first time voice acting for Fred Jones. However, Frank Welker, who was the original voice actor for Freddy in the 1969 series, has voiced the character in almost every single Scooby-Doo adaptation for over 50 years. Frank's performance of Fred is just so much more in-depth and more three-dimensional than Zac Efron's high school fuckboy version of Fred. The thing is, you can't really blame Efron either, because Frank simply knows the character of Fred better. This isn't just confined to the character of Fred. This applies to the rest of the Scooby-Doo gang, except for Scooby himself, who in this movie is actually voiced by Frank Welker. Grey DeLisle Griffin and Matthew Lillard have been playing Daphne and Shaggy for almost 20 years. I just feel like Grey DeLisle Griffin, Matthew Lillard, and Frank Welker give more developed and richer performances than the one that the Scoob actors do. It makes me sad to think that they weren't included in this movie because they weren't well known outside of the voice acting community. I think if these set of actors had been the cast for the Scoob movie, the movie would have been a lot better. We see you, Scooby-Doo. We're coming after you. What's the Scooby-Doo? The other major problem that I have with the Scoob movie is that it tries to set up a Hanna-Barbera cinematic universe, but in the worst way possible. You obviously have the Scooby-Doo gang from the Scooby-Doo cartoons, you have Dick Dastardly and Muttley from Wacky Races, as well as The Perils of Penelope Pitstop, you have Blue Falcon and Dynomutt from Dynomutt Dog Wonder, and you have Captain Caveman from Captain Caveman. The thing is, the movie doesn't explain how these characters intertwine. Instead, they just throw Hanna-Barbera cartoons at you and carry on with the film. I watched a movie review by Ellis Mark, link in the description, and he did a really good job of covering this topic. As he mentions in the review, this is a new adaptation of the Scooby-Doo universe, so we need to understand how this universe works. The problem is they just never set it up for us. The movie is clearly trying to be a blend of real world and fantasy, but instead of taking the time to explain to us how they blend together, they just quickly throw things at you in order to distract you from the gaping plot holes inside the movie. At first, the movie seems to be a movie based mostly in reality, with the exception of a talking dog, but then they just sprinkle in the fact that the main villain is trying to open the actual gates of hell in order to get his dog back. Now, I would have been okay with this if they just took the time to explain this or have placed some clues that foreshadowed this early on in the movie, but they just didn't. Now, don't get me wrong, Dick Dastardly is one of the actually good parts of this movie. but we just don't get enough backstory in order to fully understand what is going on. The audience just kind of has to accept what is happening and move along. To me, this just seems like lazy filmmaking. The movie just feels like it is both trying too hard and doing the bare minimum simultaneously. So now that I have sort of torn the movie to shreds, you might be thinking, well, was there anything that you did like about the movie? Well, there wasn't a whole lot, but there were some things that I like. Number one, I love Frank Welker, obviously. I'm a bit of a Frank Welker fan, but in my opinion, he's one of the most talented voice actors ever. I really think that he did a great job, as he always does, voicing Scooby-Doo. He tries to bring as much emotion as he can to the character, and I think it really pays off. Number two, Dick Dastardly. I think that he was the only portrayal in the movie that was true to the original cartoons. He walked that line of villainy and stupidity perfectly. I do think that having a whole movie where Dick Dastardly is only trying to get his dog back is a little ridiculous and doesn't necessarily warrant a feature film made about it, but it was still one of the few heartfelt moments of the film. Now, I don't really mean to discredit the performances that some of the minor characters gave, such as Dynamite and Brian, but they were a little bit out of character, and it was a little bit jarring to see that. It was a little confusing, and it took some time to get used to, but I did think that Ken Jeong did a really good job of portraying Dynamite in this new light. Number three, I loved the copious amounts of hidden Easter eggs that were in the movie. There were so many Easter eggs that it made me like this movie a lot more than I initially did. It's obvious that the production team really did their research and tried to fit in as many Hanna-Barbera Easter eggs as they could without it being a complete distraction. I watched the movie 2 more times and combed through the movie and found close to 30 Easter eggs. Now, I probably missed a lot more because I don't know everything about Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but I really appreciated the ones that I did find. However, now this is where you'll see that I know way too much about Scooby-Doo. I was disappointed that when the Blue Falcon, Dynamite, Shaggy, and Scooby do stop at Funland in Romania, that Charlie was not present. If you don't know who Charlie is, Charlie was the villain of the episode where the gang was in Funland, and he is one of my favorite villains in the entire original series. Now, again, Charlie might have been there in Funland, but I didn't see him. I guess this is also a good time to mention that my dad, who is also a huge Hanna-Barbera fan, was really upset that Space Ghost did not make an appearance in the movie. The thing is, the movie Scoob is an okay movie. It's just a bad Scooby-Doo movie. Overall, the Scoob movie just left me feeling disappointed. I kept thinking to myself, really? This is the movie that we've been waiting for? This is Scooby-Doo's big return to the silver screen? I would have gladly taken a third 2000s live-action Scooby-Doo over this Marvel wannabe. In my opinion, the Scooby-Doo live-action movies, the original 2000s live-action movies, not the shitty 2010 movies that we don't talk about, are far superior to this one. Even the direct-to-home video Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island was better than this movie. I understand what the producers and the directors are trying to do. They're trying to revamp the Scooby-Doo franchise for a new generation to love. But the movie gets in the way of itself. It's not a terrible movie, and I'm sure that many kids will love it for years to come. But as an adult watching this movie, there's just so much that it's lacking. I think that there were a couple of lessons that can really help teach younger kids. In the scene where they fight Cerberus, Brian and Dynamite have this heartfelt conversation where Dynamite says that it's okay to not be your dad. You don't have to be your dad. You just have to be yourself. It's okay to be scared and not know what to do. And it's equally courageous to do something heroic as it is to be scared to do something heroic and doing it anyway. I think that that scene is one of the stellar moments in the entire movie. It is so heartfelt and amazing, and I really hope that every young child that watches this movie takes that away with them. That you don't have to live up to your parents' image or your siblings' image. You just have to be yourself, even if you're scared to do that. I think that that's something that a lot of people, not just kids, adults too, need to learn. And it made me really happy to see that in the movie. Well, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you for watching. If you like this content and you would like to see more Scooby-Doo content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure to let me know in the comments what you want to see next from me. I will be releasing another Scooby-Doo video in the future, going through all of the Easter eggs that I found in the Scoob movie, but that's going to take a little bit longer. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!